Okay, I love a lot of things about what I do, so it's hard to pinpoint exactly. It makes me like a giddy kid. I'm like, oh, like this is so awesome.
And there's like 90,000 agents in Ontario alone, right? The competition is stiff.
Things are so competitive now that we almost feel the urge to try to promise as much as possible. Just deliver excellent quality peak designs for websites and for my clients.
Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we have a super special guest. Meet the mastermind behind Line Zero Studio. Pierre Ramzy specializes in web design and development, turning his client's vision into high volume sales. His belief in not compromising quality has pioneered his team to be a creative force in the web design industry. Pierre's recent work earned recognition on Flux Academy for its flawless execution, along with helping Cence secure over $2 million in funding and revenue through SEO strategy and corporate training for designers. Please welcome Pierre Ramzy. Pierre, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that incredible intro. I appreciate that, and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, so first things first, how did you get started?
Yeah, so I actually started off maybe like 6-7 years, originally in sales, 6-7 years ago, sorry. So as a kid, I was always very techie. I loved tech, I loved design. Back in like, Windows XP, they had Microsoft Paint. If you remember those days.
Pinball days.
Exactly, yeah. As a kid, I was always such a nerd and I would always play around and try to do stuff even though I had no idea what I was doing. So it was always like an underlying passion. And what happened is I knew I liked tech. I knew I liked design. I didn't know what that really meant. Web design or UI, UX wasn't really a thing that was talked about back then. So I'm just like, oh, I probably want to do computer science, right? Because computers. So that's what I originally started in. And then what happened was I didn't really super fall in love with that. Didn't know what I was going to do. Ended up in sales where I was working in sales for a creative agency that sold websites, digital marketing and stuff like this. And what happened was, we were able to do sales. I got, down and did the cold calling, did the door-to-door, did all the crazy stuff. And I worked really hard for the sales. And then what happened was they didn't end up with the best quality product from the agency. And so it kind of got me upset. I'm like, hey, you know what? I worked so hard for these clients. Why aren't they getting the design they deserve? And so what happened in that agency, I kind of went and I said, listen, design team, what's going on here? Like my clients aren't happy. Let's get them what they need. Right. And so it kind of started off this way. And I slowly started getting more hands-on into design, right? I always had that like underlying passion. So it wasn't such a difficult transition. And before I knew it, I was working with the design department and doing the sales. And I kind of got a lot of that going pretty cohesively. Yeah. So at a certain point, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to just go and do my own thing. I think I'm going to do the sales, the design, and I'm kind of going to get this going and I'm going to give them the design that I really think they deserve because I really wanted to just deliver excellent quality peak designs for websites and for my clients. So I did that and I started freelancing for a while and I took my clients with me. And then I said, you know what, let's really get as good as possible. So I went online and I did whatever I could. I took whatever course, I watched whatever videos. I just tried to stack as many skills as possible to really just make sure every design I ever made was the best design I had made yet. And then it really evolved. And now I think we're about a year in, just over a year. I have my studio, Line Zero Studio. So this is really exciting. We expanded a little bit. We're a small, like 3-4 person team. And we work with, businesses, small, medium, but also startups of like 1 mil to 5 mil revenue. And we get them, websites for marketing, applications, all that stuff. And yeah, I freaking love it. I absolutely love it. And we pour 100% to every project, even if it's a smaller or larger project.
So then what would be like the most frustrating part for you when it comes to web design?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think one of the most frustrating parts is actually early on in that process. I kind of described that discovery where I'm trying to like learn what the client wants. I'm trying to get that information. Sometimes it's not very clear. Sometimes they don't know, right? And I have to like really dig and I'm like stuck in circles. Sometimes it's easier than others, depending on the client. I would say though, it might be tied with that, and that from wireframe stage to like starting the design, that initial like concepts to that above the fold section can be really frustrating, because I have such a high standard for how I feel any design that comes from us should be. And so getting that started from nothing, because you have like a rough layout, you have the content, but then this is really where creativity has to kick in, because you're taking like nothing and then you're creating presumably the soul of this company.
Right.
So it can be really frustrating, just like from like an internal perspective, because like, no, I don't like this. No, I don't like this. I have to iterate. And then you have deadlines. You have to like, you can't take all the time in the world developing and designing like 80 iterations.
Yeah.
You have to do something quick.
So you helped a company secure over $2 million in funding.
Yeah.
Yep. Can you tell us more about that? How did that happen?
Totally, yeah. So that company, Cence, I think you mentioned it in the intro, Cence Power, I think they were at the time called Argentum. But what I helped them with at the time, I was doing a lot of sort of consulting strategy and some training for them. And they were kind of early on. They had some publications at the time. And so what I was working with them on is how to incorporate everything into their SEO strategy. And they were an amazing team. They were really, really good in the execution front. And so what I laid out for them is a way to basically take what they have as a company in terms of like a unique product, right? And the content they had like a good amount of content. And I helped them create a strategy, an SEO strategy that would double down on what they have. And sort of, I mapped out, if you create this content, if you take care of these things, and we kind of worked together on this, you would go really far. And they took it and they applied everything super, super well. And they just started ranking for keyword after keyword. They started like really, really getting a ton of traffic, which led to them getting a ton of investment, so a ton of funding. They ended up getting like acquired, I think at the time, by another company.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, very cool. And they just kept on growing sales as well through that. It was, their SEO strategy became a huge part of their business. And it was already doing pretty good. And again, thanks to their amazing execution, I sort of helped brush up kind of the problems. I said, okay, we want to take care of these things and we want to focus here. So we just kind of worked together again to lay out the strategy, and they just executed so well. Honestly, like I don't know how much credit I can take, because as much as I did the strategy, execution is so key, and I think they executed so well that it's like one of my favorite success stories, because it's technically like over 500% increase in like conversions.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was really, really good. It was really good stuff.
Is it true that web development can actually translate into sales? Going into this conversation,
I mean, absolutely, 100%. The SEO part is them finding you, but once they're on the website, that's 100% just how's the website design, how is the performance. It's everything at that point is the website's job to do. To answer your question shortly, it is 100,000 billion% like gonna have a massive impact on sales, because the best way to think about a website is it's a sales agent 24/7 working for you. He's 24/7 there.
True. Yeah.
Yes. And if it's not set up correctly, then you will lose sales. And the issue is, we're living in a time where people have such a high expectation in terms of what design is. They may not like think consciously, but they expect, if I see something and it looks sketchy, I'm gonna press back. If I click on this link and it takes a long time to load, I'm gonna press back, right? So it's so interesting, because a lot of people will invest a lot of time into so many aspects of their business, and maybe even so many aspects of their website, but they don't realize, like, what's that journey look like? I'm a person, I'm interested, I'm going to search, I'm gonna click on your website. What is the first thing I'm gonna see? Like this thought process, right? It is really important to know what it's like for your business and for your people, because you can identify bottlenecks or friction points that just stop everything. And the thing that you worked like really hard, maybe you have some beautiful properties that you sold, or some like really nice content, but it's not loading, or people simply can't find it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Or the button, the text of the button isn't descriptive enough, so they don't click it.
Yeah.
Or the color isn't contrasting well enough. And we can get real technical. There is such a level of impact that the website can have that, especially if we're talking at a large enough scale, the color of a button or the text, it can be something as simple as like, get in touch, or call us today. Like something so subtle that you think like has no impact can be the difference of millions of dollars a month.
Wow.
It can be massive. Now think about the grander scale, right? What is the initial image that you see? Is it moving? How does it load? And then how does it load on iPhones? How does it load on Android devices?
Right, because there's different devices out there.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're back. We're going to rate some websites now.
Exciting. I'll be as constructive as possible.
Okay.
We can kind of hop right into it, I suppose.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the first one we have here I see is mycondosource.com.
Yes.
And there's a lot of cool stuff going here, but there's definitely some things that could be improved on. So I'm just refreshing to show something. So one of the first issues that I see here that I think should be addressed quite quickly is this section of my condo source offering the best, this whole copy here. The issue is right now, it was contrasting when the video in the back was dark, but as soon as it gets light, the contrast is very little, which means it's hard to actually read the words. So we wait right now, when it goes to daylight,
right.
it's hard.
Yes.
And this is very important because remember we talked about if you go on a website and it's the first thing you see, it might just be the thing that the user sees first, right?
Right.
The video just so happens to loop, they look away, whatever they look, and they just see this and they have no idea. And people maybe aren't the most patient, so they'll just scroll down and they'll be like, what's going on? And then they might get like a little upset and then they just might leave. Or it might
Right.
not be upset, they might just be like bored because they don't know what's going on, they might leave, right?
Right.
So one of the first things that's very important is your above the fold section or hero section needs to have a very clear value proposition of what is it that you do. One of my pet peeves is that it's not clear what a company is when I read that initial part, right?
Right.
So it's not necessarily even that they don't have that description done well. There could be some tweaks to make that better, but it's the fact that half of the time it can't be seen. Mm-hmm. It's a big challenge. And then from a conversion perspective, the next thing is view current developments. This is their call to action. This is
Right.
like the main thing they want the user to do. And it's very important to be super clear with what you want that user to do, what they are going to get with that button. And more importantly, that button should be very visible. And the challenge here is that you can't read that button
Yes.
either, right?
Like it only becomes visible when you actually put
Exactly.
the mouse over it.
The hover state is done like kind of correctly. And what I would encourage this website to do, for example, is to make this state just how it is by default and then make the hover state something else.
So we're gonna see here H7 Network.
Yes.
What do you think of this? Like we're just reviewing the front pages of both sites. So
Totally. Yeah. So first and foremost, I know this company personally. Like I really like what they do. They're a networking group, and I think they're fantastic for businesses. I got introduced to them recently. I super love the actual business and what they offer. But the tricky thing is that I don't think the value of what they bring, which was described to me by a person who was there, and I got invited to like a meeting, and it was just a mastermind of really smart people. That feeling I got, I don't feel like it's translated well through this.
Oh, really?
Yes, and I think that's really a key is you want to make sure that feeling of like if you're using a product or if you're using a service, typically there's like, why are you the best? Why are you so good? Why do people like you? Why have you survived this long and continue to grow? There's a reason. There's a soul to that reason. And we want to take that soul and have the website reflect on it. And I think they can definitely have some sort of things that improve this. One thing I think they did pretty good though was having a clear button that is orange, which means it really sticks out. It's a visual anomaly. So conversion, the chance of someone clicking this, I would bet is actually quite high. And if you ran some tests, it would probably be pretty high. But if you notice, their hover state is white. At least on
It goes
this
away.
device, it goes away.
Yeah.
So that's an issue. You want to make sure that when you hover over something, it does this visual, the visual feedback triggers the subconscious want to click, right? So this is typically done with like some sort of extra like increases in size a little, or it's outlined.
Right.
Something that says, hey, click me. It'll be super satisfying if you click me.
Yeah, exactly. Very important because a lead turns into a sale.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much. This has been very, very informative.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me again.
In our channel, we interview entrepreneurs and they share their journey and their stories with us, and hopefully you gain some value from them. So if you like this content, please like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you guys. Appreciate you.